Hi there, thanks for joining. In this video, I'm going to focus on specific case studies, a case that actually came through our firm, a case that the firm handled, and I'm going to explain the outcome. So first, for confidentiality reasons, we're just going to use the client's first name. So in this case, it was Milsima. Milsima came to the firm for an express entry application. I do have to time look at my notes because I don't want to say anything that's incorrect. The client came to us because she had submitted her own express entry application, and unfortunately the express entry application was rejected. And the main reason, after she hired us, we figured out that the reason it was rejected is because she used the wrong NOC code, the National Occupation Code. This is fundamental key component to an express entry application. If you don't use the right NOC code, or the code that describes your job duties that you've performed, even though it could be a NOC B or an A or an O, if you don't use the correct one, the application will be rejected. One of the things about express entry, in my opinion, is that it's not merciful. And what I mean by that is, if you get it wrong, you don't get a second chance of explaining to the officer and say, oh, you know what, I made this mistake and actually it's this. Some other applications, like a spousal sponsorship, is a little bit merciful. There is some back and forth with the officer. With express entry is get it done right the first time or you're going to get a refusal. So in this particular case, the client chose the wrong NOC and the application came rejected not once, but twice, because she thought she had the right NOC the second time. The other unfortunate part with an express entry or any other application, as I'm sure you're aware, is the officers are not allowed to tell you what the correct answer is. So they say, here's the reason for refusal, and they'll say you've used the wrong NOC, or we don't believe this qualifies you under the job duties you're stating that you've performed. But they give you zero guidance as to what you could do to hopefully get an approval. So the client came to us very unfortunate and said, you know what, I got rejected. Am I even eligible, or should I pack my bags and go home? And she was probably in Canada for several years, studied, did the postgrad work permit, made a life here, did the Canadian experience application. And when you get 2 refusals, it could be quite daunting for a client. With my review, she scored 471 points for an express entry. I mean, that's a pretty good score. And when I looked into it and I said, the only thing that's really wrong here is that you've just chosen the wrong NOC, but your points are actually correct. So we resubmitted the application, and about 9 months later, she received her approval. So you could only know how excited she was. After that, the client hired us with obviously sponsoring her spouse. So if you're in a situation where you've received refusals in the past, I want you to call us. Let me review it and see if there's anything that we can do. Thank you, and until next time.